Hello, my loves. We are heading into Self-Love Week. And I feel that this term can be oversaturated, especially in this market of self-love. And there's sort of like, I think sometimes some confusion around what self-love really is and what it isn't. So I actually like the term honoring self first over self-love, but nonetheless, I did name the week self-love. Um, this week, what we're really going to be diving in is no matter what in our lives, whether we're in a relationship or out of a relationship, we are always, always, always in a relationship with ourselves. And that is the relationship that has to come first above everything else, because everything else is a reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves. So what I would love to offer you guys, or I love to give to you guys this week, is a roadmap to wholeness. Because wholeness to me is the embodiment of the relationship that we have with ourselves. And self-love is, there is no coming into enlightenment without self-love. In fact, I would say that the path to enlightenment is the journey of self-love. It's bringing back the parts of ourselves that we've rejected, we've abandoned. And so you guys, myself included, this is a lifelong journey. And the information that I'm going to be giving you guys this week can be used over and over and over. I know that I've done these exercises like multiple times at different times in my life. And every time you do the exercise, there's going to be different things that come up because you're going to be shifting and changing, as you evolve on your journey. So I'm going to jump right into this, you guys. Share my screen with y'all. Okay. Okay, so self-love. Life is too short to spend it at war with yourself. Um, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this. You know, honestly, a lot of our inner critic is created when we're young. I know that like my inner critic is, I have a pretty strong inner critic. I've allowed the inner critic to help propel me into success, and it's allowed me to create some sort of like a curiosity energy around my beliefs about myself. So you can use things as a way to benefit you. So most people have a really strong inner critic. So if you do, I would invite you to just get curious about your inner critic. And the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to self-love, self-love is really spelled boundaries. Boundaries. And, boundaries can be kind of hard to communicate. So we're going to get into that a little bit better. But boundaries are your responsibility, 100%. Your responsibility, nobody else's. And the way I describe boundaries is it's how you feel. So like I said, I mean, sometimes boundaries can actually be hard to communicate, but your body will tell you if somebody is crossing a boundary well before you can articulate and communicate it. So this is why so much of the work that we're doing is around getting back in tune with our bodies, getting back in tune with how we feel, because how you feel will tell you a lot about your boundaries. What's a yes for you? What's a no for you? Our minds can lie. Our hearts can even lie, but our body never lies, ever. Our bodies are like human lie detectors. So you'll notice like with certain people, sometimes you'll get like somebody's telling you something and you get that feeling of like backing up. It's usually because somebody's crossing a boundary. There's something there, right? So that's what I want you guys to be paying attention to. When your energy is kind of backing up versus leaning forward, that will tell you, is somebody crossing a boundary with me? Is this a yes for me? Is this a no for me? How does this feel to me? Not what does it feel like for them? What does it feel like for you? Boundaries, coming from a place of being single, boundaries are the fastest way to sort the good guys from the bad guys. Now I say good guys from bad guys because I don't really think in terms of black and white so much. So you can think of like healthy people versus unhealthy people. And you can interchange that, guys to people to whatever. I, obviously was coming from more of a singles perspective, but you can interchange that. So having strong boundaries and sticking to boundaries will be the fastest way that you can sort out people who are maybe more narcissistic or more abusive in nature or looking to take from you. Have really strong boundaries. Whatever you tolerate will become your reality. So I get people who will say, well, I always attract this or I always attract that. And it's not about what you're attracting. You have to understand, as somebody who has a bright light, it's like moss to a flame. You're going to attract all kinds of things. But what are you tolerating in your life? That will eventually become your reality. So you can attract abusers, but you don't have to tolerate abusers, okay? And abuse can be in all different ways, emotionally, mentally, physically. And what you tolerate, getting really good at what you're tolerating in your life, will be a reflection of how you see your worth and your value. It doesn't mean that that is your worth or your value. It just means that that's how you currently see your worth and your value. So I've started to get really good about looking at analyzing my life from a space of, what am I tolerating? What am I tolerating in my life? What am I tolerating from other people? And even what am I tolerating for myself? Like, do I tolerate, because boundaries don't just have to do with other people, they have to do with ourselves as well. Am I tolerating speaking bad about myself, right? Because when it comes to attracting people into your life, you will never let somebody abuse you beyond the level that you abuse yourself. You will never let somebody abuse you beyond the level that you abuse yourself. So this is obviously why self-love is so important in our lives, because we won't tolerate it. As soon as somebody goes beyond a point that we abuse ourselves, we're like, get out of here, like, go away. So I want you guys to become aware of that. Like, what are you tolerating in your life? And one of my boundaries, this has to do with being single, for me anyways, is if I have to become a mom or a detective, that's crossing a boundary for me. So those are just, it kind of sounds funny, but that's how I know, like, in a relationship, if I even have to feel like I have to investigate something because I don't, I'm getting like my spidey senses are picking up on something that maybe is untrustworthy in a person, that's already crossing a boundary for me, because I don't want to be in a relationship that I feel like I have to be a detective. So as soon as I start to go into that realm, I'm like, this relationship is probably not serving me and is crossing a boundary within me. And then same thing, like if I have to become a mom, meaning I have to like check in on them, check up on them, nurture them. We kind of get into that further on down the path of this, but those are boundaries that I specifically hold myself to when it comes to a relationship. Weak boundaries and codependency are deeply interconnected. And, you know, you guys, we can become codependent to all kinds of things, not just relationships and people. We can become codependent to food, substances, all kinds of stuff. And so that's where the codependency and weak boundaries do interconnect. Honoring self first. So I feel like I've done a video on this before, but just talking about, you cannot align with your soul's highest path and purpose if you are not honoring yourself. And honoring self, like I said, self-love can be kind of an oversaturated, overused word and highly misunderstood. Honoring self has this sort of almost like, I want to say like almost like a royalty vibe to it. Like when I think of like a queen, she honors herself. She honors her body. She honors her mind. She honors her spirit. And honoring self is an all-encompassing thing, right? It's not this unwillingness to look at your faults or your flaws. It's coming from a space of curiosity. It's coming from a space of wanting to understand yourself better. It's encompassing the good, the bad, the imperfect, the perfect, and it's fully taking responsibility and ownership for your life. No more of pointing the finger, pointing the blame. Well, this person, this person, this person. We all have our stories, but are we attached? Are we committed to our stories? Or do we just go, oh, I understand where I developed this belief, and is this belief serving me or is it not serving me at this stage in my life? That's honoring self. That's honoring yourself. You can look at, we can use our stories, our past as a way of understanding our current reality and using that as a way to create a different reality. If helping someone else is hurting you. So this goes back to the honoring self first. Empaths, sensitive people, codependent, which are largely a lot of the people that I work with, they have a tendency to want to help other people, but almost to the point that it hurts them. So that's one of the questions I ask myself if I'm ever in that space. Does this help? If helping them ends up hurting me, it's of service to actually nobody. It's of service to nobody. If you are giving what you ultimately don't have to give, you actually make the other person a thief because you're giving something that you don't have to give. Hopefully that makes sense. So ultimately serves no one in the long term. And again, it's that self-check-in. It's that, is this a yes for me or is this a no for me? If it's a no for me, it's a no for them. Having strong boundaries attract the right people into your life. And honestly, it starts to become something that can just be held in your energy. I know for me, like in my energy field, I don't feel like I carry any more of like, I have no problems cutting people out of my life if they are not of my highest good and of my highest, if they are going to take me off my path in any kind of way. I feel that I carry that very strongly in my energy. I'm very open, I'm very loving, but I'm also like, I will not put up with bullshit. And I do feel like it's something that is communicated through my energy. And it allows me to attract the right people into my life. Okay, so let's go into remembering you're a badass, because every single one of you are a badass. There we go. Okay, so one of the assignments I'm going to have you guys do, and like I said, you can do this multiple times at different times in your life, is I want you to write a list of 10 things that made you proud to be you. And see, these are some of the prompting questions I want you to ask. What is a meaningful compliment someone gave you? What is a skill you do very well? What is a common reoccurring comment people tell you about yourself? What is an experience you have had that made you very proud to be yourself? And something I want you guys to write down in your journals this week is, I am worthy of loving and accepting myself unconditionally. It is always safe to be me. I am enough. So often I find on my own journey and other people that I've coached is there's this deep-seated belief that they're not worthy of loving themselves and that that's somehow selfish or wrong. So it's definitely not selfish. It is self-full. It's filling your own cup so that you then have to give to others. So you are worthy of loving and accepting yourself on all levels, unconditionally. And there's also a PDF I included in your guys' assignment this week that you can go back through and read these prompting questions. Okay, so self-love. These are some questions I ask myself. If I ever find myself sort of in a fork in the road or deciding what to do, these are the questions I'll kind of run through. Will this choice propel me towards an inspiring future, or will it keep me stuck in the past? Again, when you tune in, you'll know, like right away, the answer will come to you, especially when it comes to relationships. Will this choice bring me to long-term fulfillment or short-term gratification? Am I standing in my power, or am I trying to please another? Am I looking for what's right, or am I looking for what's wrong? Will this choice add to my life force, or will it rob me of my energy? Will I use the situation as a catalyst to grow and evolve, or will I beat myself up? How many of you guys can relate to that, right? Like you have a situation and you can always use it to your benefit as a catalyst to help you grow and evolve. So often our pain points are what we're here to be actually of service in. So it's always, always, always our pain points that help us to evolve and grow. As long as we allow it, it's always a choice. Does this choice empower me or disempower me? That's one I use a lot. Is this making me feel, I think there's some that I didn't include on this, but are actually on the PDF that's included in the work this week, is does this make me feel expansive, or does this make me feel like restricted and confined? Those are questions I use a lot when making a decision going forward, is I always want to feel like when I'm moving forward on something, I always want to feel like it's like expanding me. It's I can have fear around it because fear always shows up, but I want the energy to feel like I'm expanding and I'm growing versus wanting to like restrict myself. I know I use examples of relationships a lot, but definitely in relationships, I'll ask myself, is this person going to make me feel like I can expand and grow and evolve? Or are they making me feel like I have to fit into a certain box? And when I feel that, it's like, ew, yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm honoring myself. Okay, so these are just some questions I included on your PDF that you guys can always use when making a big decision in your life going forward. It helps you to navigate things better and to understand yourself better and ultimately what you want. Okay, you guys, so that is your self-love week. Enjoy this week. Really spend the time. I want you guys, as part of your assignment, so you'll have the You're a Badass assignment you need to fill out that we will be reading on our call next week. The other thing I want you guys to do this week is I want you to nurture yourself this week. I would love for each of you guys to have a date with yourself. And this doesn't have to be a date that you need to go out to, but this can be a date where you have a bath and you create that space for you to show yourself some self-love. So enjoy this week. If you guys have any questions, reach out to me, and take the time to show yourself a little bit of love. I love you all.